They live in an environment too young for their ages, surrounded by people who care less for what they see or hear. At every corner, the razor-sharp fence serves as a constant reminder that this is not their home. Beyond this playing space, there is no longer that freedom. Their innocence somehow clouds the path that destiny has crafted for them, plunged in a den filled with inmates convicted of several crimes, ranging from murder, fraud, commercial sex, among others. This is the life of children living with their incarcerated mothers at one of Zimbabwe's female prisons in Chikurubi. 24 investigates exposes the hardships faced by these children who are paying a heavy price for crimes they did not commit. Chikurubi Female Prison, one of the 3 female prison facilities in Zimbabwe. Here, convicted mothers are allowed at law to be accompanied by their children, but this can only be for nursing mothers and can only be done until the child is 2 years old. After this period, the child is removed to stay with a relative or is moved to an institutional home. But the situation at Chikurubi Female Prison is complex. Here, children as old as 14 are accompanying their mothers in prison, old enough to understand the harsh conditions they are forced to bear and the language and culture of the prison life. An inmate, whom we shall call Sophie, agrees to talk to us. She is a South African arrested on charges of illegal entry into Zimbabwe and now awaits deportation. She has 3 children aged 10, 6, and 2.
My kids are not safe here. They see the things are bad here because it's a jail for women. So another woman that's not good in the head, sometimes they go without their clothes and they saw something, the pets, the dirty pets, what, the things. So it's not good to be here with my kids. The life to sleep with the kids in the cell is difficult and it's a pain when you see your kids sleeping like that and your kids are suffering like that in the jail. The jail is a painful when you've got the kids in the jail. It's not a good life for the kids because when the kids see you are suffering in the jail, brain is not good. The time you see the kids when they are talking, they are not talking the normal words when they talk. So it's a painful when you are in jail with your kids. You see your kids are seeing the place like this. It's not a good place for the kids to see you are suffering and them they are suffer like this. It's a painful for this life.
This is the life of children living with their incarcerated mothers at Chikurubi Female Prison. The day is spent outdoors, whether by choice or circumstances. Is there a way to escape the prison cells, at least for the next 7 hours before they'll be back again to an environment they dread each minute?
Vanhu vari kukura anavo nekuzoti kunge richivharirwawo zvedu nekunge achita ndiri kumba aifarona nehana nasisi vacho nyanza kunoku atitangozvitsva. Semwana wanenge ajerewo vanhu vekumba kwavo saka iko zvino zvakutotanga imwe life no kuti achizotangwa kujera zvine nguva. Pane language yekuzongotaura wakazvinyadzii zvokuti mwana anokuzongokura achiita sei achizotaurawo hainona wangu achiri mudiki izvozvo asati akuita sei akuzvizivawo.
This is one of the cells at Chikurubi Female Prison, a facility that can take up to 20 prisoners. A strong stench fills this room from a toilet located at the extreme end of this cell, even as some of the windows of this cell are opened during the day. Blankets are staged in a single pile, enough to mark the space for each and every inmate. In this same room, an extra 10 more small bodies compete for space with the adults under very difficult conditions.
Sometimes they are crying, sometimes they fight themselves because of to be in stress. My mother is here. The time they talk about the school, Mama, we are going when we want to go to the school. So it's difficult for the boys to be here, especially to be in the boys in the place like this. I ask them, they will grow in the jail, you are going to be in your mind. So I tell them, when I be out of this place, I'm going to talk to my pastor to help them, to counsel them. The mind for jail must go out because when we are in Mutar, the CID, they're beating too much people in front of them. So these things are going to damage them, the brain.
Each day they mingle with hardcore inmates, ranging from murderers to commercial sex workers who care less about how they conduct themselves in front of these innocent souls. But language is just but a tip of the iceberg to the life that these children have to endure every minute they spend in this enclosure. Like Sophie, Bertha, not her real name, a Congolese national arrested for illegal entry, fears the impact that the prison conditions will have on her children. Life has been a tragedy. Surviving a rape ordeal and escaping the conditions of her home country, she now has to bear present life with her children.
It's horrible, my brother. There's no hot water for kids to bath. Imagine this age. And I can say there's no tomato for them to eat food. Even when they cook saza, there's no tomato. The dry chunks, like every day, chunks. So this one is 1 year and 2 months. And the other one is 3 years. The other one is 5 years. So the condition of even eating is very bad. There's no tomato here in prison. Only chunks every day and beans late. So the bad thing, there's no hot water, especially when the weather is bad. There's no way for them to bath. We just leave them like that.
A few meters from here, our interview is interrupted by a scuffle between inmates. An exchange of harsh words is followed by a quick brawl that ends as quickly as it had started. We barely have time to see the culprits. This is exactly what happens in prison, many times in front of children.
The environment is very bad and scared because we live with people here who are made like they are mental and they are walking around with kids also, they are around also. So it scared me. I've been waiting for if they can help us to take us to the refugee camp, but we're just here and I'm just hearing they're saying that they must take us back. Some people were prostitutes. Yeah, so the way they are talking and the way they are behaving, sometimes in a cell where we are, sometimes they can walk without even clothes, so they don't mind that kids are in the cell. And there's a lot of bad things, and those, I can call them the people that has problems. You know, there's people who have killed people, so they are mental now. So it's dangerous for kids being here, especially since that we have been here until now.
Moline, not her real name, has been here for the past 6 months. We ask her how she has managed surviving in these conditions with her children.
Haina mzuri. Na ya hii kulala kwa kulala, mwili machawa, bidudu. Ne, unamwambia tu na ya banamuki samoya atapandisha manguo bya hivyo.
Yeah, life in prison.
Batavula na mtu kuna gatso.
Life in prison asia kana kaniti. Tinevana, las futi chikafu, asichakana kakumewana. Pakurara futi asipakana kakumewana. Las futi kunengwa mkazi urikuda yeah, urikuda kana kugeza mkoma nawe arikuda kupinda achakumirira upinda uva ubuda ne apinda kana apinda vo wewe unofuva upinda futi kana maybe anokusanga iwewe watopinda mbava asikuziwa uva apinda futi.
Her son, aged 14, should be in school, but spends time locked behind the security fence at Chikurubi female prison. Our conversation is filled with emotion as he opens up on how he is surviving in a facility he never imagined he would find himself in.
Kananda buda panzi andidi ku paramosha makondisheni ari mno baskana vanonda vese wapedze kugera kumana kugera lazine nini anya kumira baskana wageza uya kabuda umweni naye ari kuda kupinda futi idangu yakareba kusvika vativarira asati ndageza.
His next request breaks my heart. He asks if I could talk to the authorities and get him and his sister released into our custody. The plight of children living in prison has remained sidelined. As we found out in our investigations, even the national budget is silent on the welfare of children accompanying their mothers in prison. This is despite Section 58 of the Prison Act, which stipulates that the child may be supplied with clothing and necessities at the public expense. But they eat from the same pot with the inmates, rushing for a dinner that is served at 3 p.m. It's a sharp contrast to their peers who during this time are at the peak of their daily games. They are being denied a chance to be children.
Children certainly growing up in such environments contribute to children being in adverse conditions or circumstances which are difficult, and they certainly have a long-term effect or impact on the child. And it is crucial that somewhere along the way we can find a way of redressing or addressing the situation to help improve outcomes. I think in an ideal world, we would say it is always best for a child to be with their parents or their primary caregiver, who is probably their mother or their father. But like you are clearly indicating, it is a circumstance beyond a certain control. And I want to believe that the solutions to addressing this does not only lie primarily with the prison system. I want to believe that even as a society, as a community, as families, we also have a role to play. Where possible, maybe even families of the incarcerated could possibly take over the care of the child for a while, and this just helps to improve outcomes. As I did mention, when a child grows up in adverse conditions, as we would want to talk them, they've got long-term impact maybe on their physical well-being, also on their emotional or their psychological well-being, as well as their social well-being. So as you would be aware, children go through various stages of development, and at each stage of development it is important that the right amount and form of stimulation is received.
The green and yellow uniforms are all they have become accustomed to, and they treat visitors with suspicion. Desperately, they cling to their mothers for protection, rightly so, because they've seen the worst in this place they now call home. This is probably the third time I've visited Chikurubi female prison, but most of the time, the children would have been at the nearby school learning. At the time of this documentary, it's during the COVID-19 lockdown period, as schools are closed. They have to spend the whole day caged like their mothers. Some may be too young to understand their situation, but even in these formative years, much of what they are learning is coming from what they see and hear in this environment.
It's not good for children, and it's very easy for young children to capture illicit language. And they will love that. Zinyadzi, they will love it.
The fate of the children accompanying their mothers in prison has been a topic of debate. The Gender and Women Affairs Portfolio Committee has been at the forefront to denounce the living conditions these children are subjected to while in prison, a position shared by other independent critics. Chingasiyeni Govati is a child development expert and a former magistrate. She tells us children have become innocent pawns in a web that has remained hidden from the public eye.
We need to reconsider seriously the implications of such scenarios where we have a child serving not because they were sentenced by any court of law to imprisonment, but because the person who is supposed to give care, who is concerned of their well-being, has been sentenced to prison. It's not ideal for child protection. The end result is then when the child comes out, I think psychologists say the formative years of any child is at age 0 to age 5. So we have them in prison maybe until they are age 2, and we have already shaped their mindset psychologically. So whoever they become, they've already started what I would call on a wrong footing. They've already started in prison. And how much do they learn? Because their mom is confined, their mother is confined. A child learns by going outside, playing outside, facing all the risks and dangers. I think what motivated that, the motivation behind that is sound, in that you don't want to separate this little child from the love of the mother. But we can do better. Let's not send them to prison in the first place.
There is agreement by experts that the absence of a better environment for children accompanying their mothers in prison is similar to treating them like prisoners, which is against the Constitution and international human rights.
This can lead maybe to future problems, maybe as adolescents or even as older people. We can look at incidents of mental health, where maybe they can have problems such as depression, maybe anxiety, panic attacks. Now this depends on the whole of the situation and the specific circumstance of this child and their mother.
The day ends at 4:30 p.m. They too are shepherded into this tiny cell where they have to battle for fresh air with their mothers. With all the windows closed, these children are now at the mercy of the powerful stench from the only toilet located at the far end of this cell. 2 months before, we had previewed this documentary with a news story. Some month later, on the 22nd of March 2022, government announces that it has approved the Prisons and Correctional Services Bill, which it says will bring better conditions for vulnerable groups such as pregnant mothers, juvenile offenders, and the disabled. Yet again, it appears children accompanying their mothers in prison are sidelined, and so we quiz the responsible minister. Section 58 of the Prisons Act, particularly obligating the government to ensure that these children are well catered for. I don't know, the Minister of Finance maybe is...
The Constitution enjoins us to ensure that the best interests of children are taken care of. So sometimes we find ourselves in a difficult situation where a minor child has to be admitted into prison with the mother, and we have to weigh the options whether what is in the best interest of the children. And in terms of the law, even if you look at the bill, when you have an opportunity, once it's gazetted, the clause 73 of the bill speaks to admission of female infants, female inmates with infants, and admission of pregnant women. We're trying to ensure that the state is obligated to provide the necessary provisions for children if we can't find somebody else to look after the child. There are certain children, infants, whereby you can't even separate them from their mother. And those ones, the bill is speaking to the need to ensure that while the mother is in prison and the infant can be separated, then the necessary provisions are provided to those infants. So this is a great improvement from the current Prisons Act that we have, because this one now obligates the state to do that, to ensure that the infant is taken care of.
If expectations on the Prisons and Correctional Services Bill are successfully implemented, this may be the only hope for children accompanying their mothers to prison to at least have recognition for their innocence.